I'm Jeff Philbin, and this is Dinner DeeAs, Ideas for Dinner. And today we have a limited time offer just for you, a 2-for-1 special, available right here or right now in the next 30 minutes. We're eating Italian and making a duo of DeeAs, an authentic appetizer of Suppli, fried rice balls, a little like Nona used to make. Plus, we make like classic carbonara recipes with a very special inspiration. Today's guest is here to share recipes inspired by meaningful mealtime memories. Chef Benjamin Clark is from Italian restaurant Olivia in Tampa and in St. Pete. And welcome to the Dinner DeeAs Kitchen. I'm so excited to have you here here.
Listen, I'm excited to be here.
Because later, Chef Ben's going to share his take on the classic carbonara, one of my favorite pasta dishes, by the way. But first, we start with Suppli, fried rice and cheese balls. Nona used to make these. You learned how to make them from your Nona, but she made them and learned from her Nona.
Absolutely, and my sister's daughter now eats them now.
Okay, so that's 7 generations that are having this particular dish.
Absolutely.
Like, you are a steward of history at that point, family tradition.
Well, listen, I was excited that you had actually heard of them. It's something that our family obviously talked about during holidays when my Nona would make them. My sister and I would help her make them, and then we would enjoy them on things like Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve. And to be able to talk about it, it's exactly why we get into this business.
Most people understand what an arancini is, a fried rice ball that's going to have the meats, that's going to have the cheese, but that's not what Suppli can be because it's regional.
Correct.
To a Roman inspiration.
Correct. This my Nona's recipe also uses a little ground beef.
A little different than what would be, because that would be more on that train of like an arancini, having a meat inside it.
Correct, and that's the difference. The shape also is a little different. It's more like a football. She would make them, I don't know, 4 ounces each, about this big, but you can make them a little smaller depending on what you want and how you're going to serve them.
Man, I can't wait. So what have you already started doing to get this started then?
So we started browning off the ground beef. You know, my Nona always said that she would use ground chuck, like a 70% fat. You wanted to be able to drain some of that fat off and then drain it after you brown it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you're gonna cook the beef, drain the fat off, and then what does that extra fat that is then removed from the flavor, we're gonna put in with some tomato paste and some water just as we brown it.
Okay.
We add this tomato paste in with the ground beef, just like this, okay? And then right over the heat, we're gonna add a little bit of water so that tomato paste can get incorporated into the beef.
Love it.
And then we're gonna mix that all up. And this is gonna be the start of the mixture that we're gonna use, that we're gonna end up forming in by hand. And then we're gonna take that mixture and we're gonna bread it later on.
So this is pretty easy then to make?
Listen, it's very easy, especially for somebody cooking at home. And the best part about it is when you're doing it either in large batch quantities or however you wanna serve them, parties, the Super Bowl, you can, after we're gonna fry them later on, you can serve them hot like that. You can let them cool down and serve them room temperature. And you and I were talking about, my Nona used to send them home with us after Thanksgiving and we'd eat them the next day, either cold right out of the fridge or microwave the next morning.
Because they had that much flavor.
Absolutely.
It was just like, you couldn't wait. Was it a treat to be able to cook alongside Nona?
It was. You know, I was very lucky. Both my parents loved to cook. It kind of gave me my inspiration to start cooking at a young age. We would make fresh pasta. She would show me how to make salads and salad dressings. And then the best part about it also is exactly what you and I are doing right here. As we were cooking and spending that time together in the kitchen, she'd tell me stories about learning from her Nona, her time in Italy. And then you get to transcend those stories into the next generation like we spoke about earlier.
It's such a beautiful thing. Food is a conduit. It's a gateway, but it's also just that passageway into the sharing of tradition and heritage, culture.
Yeah.
That like it can be lost in one generation, but to think that you've got 7 now that can still be able to have this, and for all of you at home to be a part of like your family. Now, like, are we now extended cousins? Because like
we can only hope, right?
All right. So is this to the liking that we want it to be?
After we get the tomato paste and the water incorporated with the beef, we're going to take it off the heat and we're going to put it into a bowl, which is what we're going to end up mixing the entire filling for this. Okay. We're going to end up using a short grain rice, okay? You're going to want to use a short grain rice like an arborio that they use to make risotto, okay? You don't want to use anything like a jasmine rice that's long.
What would happen if you did? Like, why is the arborio rice so perfect for this dish?
Because we're essentially making a filling that we're going to roll in egg wash and breadcrumb and that we're going to fry. And if you have that longer grain rice, when you end up biting into it later, that texture is going to be that long, grainy rice, okay? So, and then just like if you were making fried rice in an Asian dish or anything like that, the rice that you make before, or leftover rice from a dish that you had from dinner the night before, is always the best to use.
Okay.
Absolutely. So we're going to add our rice into our beef and tomato paste and water mixture, and then we're going to use, like you said, the Roman influence. We're going to use that Pecorino Romano cheese that adds a little bit of saltiness into the dish, because we're not seasoning the beef, and we're not even seasoning it after we add the tomato paste and the water into it. Okay.
So the simplicities here is
very
really
simple. Yep.
to be celebrated.
And at the end of the day, if everybody focuses on cooking as nothing more than time and temperature management, it really takes some of that intimidating factor that people tend to run into when they cook in their house, right?
I think that's the truth, man. Like, people just kind of get, they love what they have at the restaurant. They want to try it again at the house, but then they don't know how to do it.
Correct.
And then they lose that confidence to say, no, you can do this.
Yeah.
You can do this.
Yeah, there's nothing that makes me more special than cooking in a restaurant than anybody else cooking at home, right?
I love that. All right.
And then you can just buy traditional Italian breadcrumbs, seasoned with Italian seasoning. It usually has a little Parmesan or Pecorino added into that as well, and you're going to add that in, okay? Then we're going to bind this all together by using 3 eggs, okay? We're going to take 3 eggs and we're going to crack them into a bowl, and then we're going to whip them together and add that into this mixture. And then I always say, whenever incorporating anything, baking, pastries, and especially something like a filling or something that we're going to roll into a ball, that getting some gloves on, washing your hands very well, and getting in there and mixing it together is the best way, because at the end of the day, you're going to want to incorporate all of these ingredients so that when you end up frying this suppli and you bite into it, you don't get one that's all breadcrumb and one that's all meat mixture, and you want it evenly distributed.
No one wants that. You have to have consistency. You have to have that consistency, and you have to make your own supply of suppli. All you gotta do is just grab Chef Ben's, or rather his Nona's recipe from dinnerdeas.com. It's ready to print and easy to find if you use the QR code with your phone. What that means is open the camera app, the regular one. It's already on your phone. And as if you're about to take a photo, you point it at the TV, and when the black and white box there is in frame and in focus, a link to us will appear on your phone. And that's it. That's how to use a QR code.
And as we start to incorporate this, and listen, as you cook at home, and this is the best thing about cooking, if there's something that you wanted to add into this, if there's something you want to omit to this, I know some people, when I've showed my friends how to make it, they add a little bit of ground pork, ground veal, and maybe add a little bit of Italian seasoning if they want to spice it up, a little cayenne pepper or hot sauce.
Maybe a little crushed pepper flake or something like that, just to kind of give a little more heat.
You can add a little bit more cheese if you want it cheesier. But this consistency here, kind of like you were making a loose meatball, is exactly what you're looking for. Because we're going to roll these, we're going to form them, we're going to get them into the refrigerator, and then we're going to let them firm up.
All right, let's go for it.
Okay.
Well, let's start forming these bad boys.
Let me throw this out right here.
How big do we want these to be?
So scoop yourself out, and I'm going to show you.
Okay.
Probably a little bit more.
A little bit more than that. Okay.
Okay, gotcha. And then you're going to want to form it and cup it kind of like into a football shape.
Okay.
Perfect. That's great. And then we'll set it right here.
Okay.
That's great. Perfect.
Yeah, I could see how, like, Nona was, like, saying, hey, you're making these, you're taking a few extra home, and then it's like,
absolutely.
This was the breakfast of champions the next day at your house, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And the fact that I was the one, usually the day before, making 50 of them with her, that getting them to take them home was a nice present and treat.
Love that. All right.
And then you can always keep a little extra water on hand so that if anything starts to stick to your hands while you're forming them, you can just mold them with your hands.
Love it.
Yep, absolutely. Add a little water under your hands to loosen them up.
Well, when we come back after the break, we make the Italian dish created when American troops showed up in Rome with a bunch of bacon they couldn't wait to eat. Ahead on Dinner Diaz. Welcome back to Dinner Diaz. We're going to help you mangiare some masterpieces today as we cook up 2 classic Italian ideas for dinner from Chef Benjamin Clark from Italian restaurant Olivia in Tampa and in St. Pete. But you won't find these dishes on the menu there, as he's sharing them with just us. His Nona's Suppli, fried rice and cheese, plus in a moment, our main meal of a classic carbonara. Before the break, we made our suppli, which are currently firming up in the fridge, starting by browning ground beef, then adding tomato paste and water, then mixing in some cooked and cooled arborio rice, pecorino romano cheese, Italian breadcrumbs and eggs, then forming them into our suppli, almost like little oblong footballs in a way, which had to go into the fridge first before frying, which is also what we've got over here. This cast iron's got all the oil for later when we fry these bad boys up, so we're ready to rock and roll.
Absolutely.
But next up, we're making a carbonara, and this is an essential Italian dish, or so you would think that it would be an essential dish, but actually, It's really not. The story goes that it was first made in the Second World War when American troops descended on Rome with a bunch of bacon, cream, and cheese, and they didn't know what to do with it, and they said, hey, take this, make
Worse
something.
things than adding bacon into a dish,
I mean, come on now, bacon, cheese, you're talking my language too.
Absolutely.
All right, so what do we have right here?
So we've taken guanciale.
Now, what's guanciale?
Okay, so guanciale is the pork jowl, actually like that jaw region of the pig. They debone it, roll it, and cure it, just like you would bacon, just like you would pancetta. Unfortunately, it's not something that you can find in everyday grocery stores.
Now, but this is what it would look like. So
Correct.
that's the home run, but if you were just wanted to get up on base, what could you be able to also use?
You can also use pancetta. It's kind of like an Italian form of bacon. It also comes from that belly region that they roll and cure. Also, if you can't find pancetta, you can go with a high-quality bacon as well.
Okay, but you want to make sure that it's not going to be like something that's flavored, like something you'd have for like that breakfast.
You don't want maple sugar-flavored bacon. You want something that's high quality, preferably a thicker cut, so that you can dice it into the
and get all that beautiful texture behind it. All right, so what's next with all of this?
So we've rendered out the fat, and it doesn't matter if you're cooking guanciale, it doesn't matter if you're cooking pancetta, if you're cooking that bacon, that last 2 or 3 minutes when you cook that fat and it renders out and it kind of crisps up around the edges, just like you can see here, that's the most important part. But this is the beauty that you're going to get from using guanciale rather than even a high-quality pancetta. Look at that gelatinous pieces,
it's like
isn't it?
You could almost like see through it right here, folks. Like,
it's fantastic.
So cool.
Yeah, you're not going to get that anywhere else. And then using a slotted spoon, you're going to want to take that rendered guanciale and you're going to want to remove it. The key is, though, you're going to want to leave that rendered guanciale fat in the pan because that, A, is where all the flavor is, and B, that's going to be part of the heating element that we're going to use when we make this sauce. You know, one of the more intimidating things about making a carbonara at home is that we're going to incorporate this raw egg into this guanciale fat using the pasta water to heat it and to make it into this nice creamy sauce. And that heating element of the pork fat is what's going to flavor it, essentially.
Come on now.
Absolutely.
All right, so what's next?
Okay, so now we're going to use the other key combination of making a good carbonara sauce. You're going to use a combination of whole eggs and a single egg yolk.
Okay.
That single egg yolk is going to bring the creaminess into it, okay? So you want to help me? You want to break these?
I would absolutely love to.
Absolutely. We're going to use 5 whole eggs, and then I'm going to separate this egg right here into just a yolk. Perfect. 5 eggs, 1 egg yolk, that's great, just like that. And then we're gonna whisk it together, we're just using a fork, and then we're gonna incorporate Pecorino Romano cheese.
Okay.
Same cheese we used in the Supplis.
Love it, because like right here I'm seeing you're mixing all these eggs here, you're getting a liquid form. What kind, when you start adding cheese, what are you looking for to really change this? Because like, you know, this kind of thickens a little bit.
Absolutely. When you add this cheese into the egg, you're going to want it to come to the consistency almost of like a paste.
Okay.
Okay? You're going to thicken it up. That cheese is really going to, and then that hot pasta water that we cooked the bucatini in, that's going to be what thickens it in to make it into that glossy shine.
I love it. To grab Chef Ben's recipes for this carbonara and the Suppli that we'll be frying up soon, head to dinner@DeeAs.com. Just scan the QR code to find us.
All right. So now that we have everything over a very low heat, because like I said, time and temperature management, that's all we're going to do.
Okay.
Okay? We're going to take the cooked bucatini that we had. Now, bucatini, for everybody who's not familiar, okay, you and I may talk about bucatini like it's a normal pasta shape. It is a long noodle, kind of like a spaghetti or a fettuccine or a linguine, except it has a small tube down the middle of it, okay? So it's hollow in the center, which then enables it to hold sauce very well.
It just kind of like soaks it up, fills it all the way through.
Absolutely.
Just a flavor punch.
So we have this guanciale fat in there, and we're going to add our pasta right into it, okay? And then we're going to kind of coat that pasta in the fat.
Okay.
Okay. And then once we get that, what we're going to do is we're gonna get our pasta ready. And this is kind of when they talk about mise en place and getting all of your ingredients together when you cook.
Yeah.
It's so that you have everything ready. So when it comes time like this and everything comes together all at once, you're not running around and
scrambling.
Absolutely.
Because, like, in theory, like, that was a key word I just kind of said. You got eggs. If you're not prepared for it, you may have scrambled eggs.
That's exactly why people get so intimidated by making carbonara in their own home, okay? So now we've taken it off the heat.
Okay.
Once you take it off the heat at this point, you're never going to bring it back onto the burner. Everything heat-wise is going to be associated with adding the hot pasta water to regulate that.
So
heat.
this is all about that residual, but now being able to have a controlled temperature to work
Absolutely.
with. Okay.
We'll add a little bit of our sauce mixture, okay? And then the other key is you're going to constantly want to keep this moving.
And how important is that part right now to keep it moving?
Because anything that's going to sit, whether or not you're over the heat or not, that pan is still hot. So sitting on top of it is going to let those eggs coagulate and, like you talked about, eventually scramble, okay? So as we get this now, this hot pasta water, it's filled with all that starch that we cooked the bucatini in. It's absolutely perfect. When people talk about tightening up their pasta sauce and adding that water, we're going to add it in right here and start to bring it in. If you need to add a little bit more heat.
So take it on, take it off, but making sure that you're not letting it sit, because then you're going to actually start cooking the eggs to be a scrambled consistency versus just this beautiful creaminess that you're starting to really see. That cheese is starting to melt in, that water's starting to help it.
Absolutely.
And slowly start adding all the pasta into it, because that's all, folks. A very quick carbonara complete. When we come back after the break, how to get our Suppli sizzling ahead on Dinner Diaz. Welcome back to Dinner Diaz. We're making doppia ideas for dinner today as we get Italian inspiration from Chef Benjamin Clark. He's been sharing recipes for his Nona Suppli, rice and cheese balls that we made earlier and are about to fry up. Plus, we cooked up a classic carbonara. Before the break, we sauteed guanciale, Italian cured pork, then combined eggs and an egg yolk with pecorino cheese. Took our cooked pasta and heated it in the cooking fat from the pork and added it into the sauce with a little leftover water from cooking the pasta to get it just to the right consistency. And what are we doing here? What do you got going on?
So after we let the supplis firm up in the fridge, okay, they're the perfect consistency, exactly what we're looking for, and we're just going to use standard breading procedure. Seasoned flour that you're going to season with a little salt and pepper, along with just regular beaten eggs, and then those Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, the same type that we put inside the actual mixture of the suppli.
Perfect.
And you just want to, when breading anything, whether it's supplis, meatballs, you want to make sure that you always keep one hand for dry and one hand for wet, all right? That way your hands won't get all clumped up when you're breading things.
It's the worst feeling.
It is. All right, so we've got some done right here. We're going to take the ones that we already have completed, and we're going to drop them into the oil. We're going to use vegetable oil. You know, there's a lot of stigma about frying in olive oil. You can fry in olive oil if you want. Just be sure that you know that that olive oil's heating point gets up there around 370, 375 degrees, and the oil may burn. We've got this oil at about 360 degrees, and we're just going to fry these until they're golden brown.
Love it.
And then we're going to enjoy them with a little pomodoro and some vodka sauce on the side for dipping.
All right, I did. Because to make this or the carbonara, grab the recipes at our website, dinnerdiaz.com. Just scan the QR code down there to find us. Well, you know what? I'll keep an eye on these bad boys over here with the golden brown deliciousness that we're looking for.
Perfect.
Now, while we finish up everything over here with this carbonara, what do we need to do?
So we've got the carbonara completed to just how we had it finished right there at the end. We're going to add a little bit more of that residual pasta water just to cream it up. And then like we took that guanciale out of the fat earlier, we're going to add it right back in, along with a little bit of Parmesan cheese and a little bit of... We toast our black pepper at Olivia, so I always am a little biased and like to use toasted black pepper before we grind it. That cheese is really going to tighten it up into the end. The pepper is going to give it flavoring, and then we'll plate it right up.
Now, if someone at home is like, ooh, okay, I want to cook like you at Olivia, should they be toasting their pepper too?
Toasting anything, whether it's breadcrumbs, pepper, anything is going to bring that flavor. Those look absolutely perfect.
Start pull?
Absolutely. Okay. You can set them right there, just on a regular plate, lined with a little bit of paper towels to absorb any residual oil.
Love it.
All right. That pasta's tightened up exactly how we are, and that's exactly what those supplis should look like. That looks great.
Look at these. These are absolutely beautiful.
And that's exactly using that Italian breadcrumb gives it that kind of smoother breaded feature on the outside rather than if you would use like a panko or a bigger breadcrumb that would make it a little bit more crunchy. And that's exactly what you're looking for.
Absolutely beautiful, because when we come back, we're going to be doing the important work of seeing whether these dishes here are really good too. Ahead on Dinner Diaz. Welcome back to Dinner Diaz. We've been making 2 ideas for dinner today thanks to Chef Benjamin Clark. He's shown us his Nona Suppli plus a quick and classic carbonara. You ready to dig in?
Ready when you are.
All right, which one are we going with first?
Let's go with the Supplis. It's always the first way to start. I always like to serve it either with like a marinara, a pomodoro, or a vodka sauce. You can, reach right in. That's exactly what it should look like.
I want to admire the handiwork of this beauty right here and everything all inside that. Come on now. Looks gorgeous. All right, now you got the marinara. I'm going for the vodka sauce.
It's the way to go.
It's the absolute way to go because if you miss us making it, watch this show over again at dinnerdiaz.com. It's absolutely fantastic because one of the things that I loved learning from you today, and I hope our viewers did, is time management, man.
It is, and I understand that cooking at home, especially when trying to replicate a recipe that you see at a restaurant or even something that you read in a cookbook, can be a little daunting and a little bit intimidating. But if you go in with a plan of attack, you make sure you have the right ingredients, you make sure you measure out the right ingredients and get them ready for you so you don't have to be running back and forth once the heat comes on. We talked about it a little bit earlier, time and temperature management. We can always fiddle around with it and raise one and lower one, but having to run out of the kitchen to go grab something halfway through
That's never a good thing because this could have easily turned into scrambled eggs.
Without a doubt, absolutely.
We should have this beautiful creaminess with the Bucatini.
Absolutely, man.
Took all that sauce together for it. That is out of this world fantastic. Thanks again to Chef Ben. Grab his recipes at dinnerdiaz.com where we also have a link to his restaurant Olivia with outposts in Tampa, St. Pete, and soon to be Sarasota too.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me. Absolutely.
I'm Jeff Philbin. Thanks for watching and see you next time with more ideas for dinner, or if we call them, Dinner Diaz. So good.